Welcome, cherished audience. Today, we embark on another journey of honing our English listening skills through captivating narratives. But before we delve into our story, I kindly invite you to subscribe to my channel to stay updated on our enriching content.
Story 1. Life always has two answers. My teacher is a very special person. In every problem of life, he always gives two different answers. For example, for excellent students, he says, "This semester, you scored the best in the exam," which doesn't have much to be proud of, because next semester you won't necessarily be able to achieve that. But if you rank first next semester, you won't be proud, because you won't necessarily be valedictorian in the university entrance exam. But if you get valedictorian, it won't be very great, because you'll work and participate in public service later. Working in society doesn't necessarily mean you'll always be first. And for other weak students, the teacher has the opposite way of saying, if this semester you don't get good results, there's nothing to worry about because there's still next semester. But if next semester you don't get good results, there's nothing to worry about because there's still next semester. Well, don't be too sad or worried, because you won't be like that when you get into university. And if you fail the university entrance exam, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because there are also universities in society. Schools of life. Success does not only exist on the exam path.
The teacher also told us a fable about ants and crickets. When autumn comes, the ants work hard from morning to night looking for food to prepare for the coming winter. But the crickets, on the contrary, hide in the grass and the green trees, singing loudly.
As winter approaches, the ants can stay in their warm burrows slowly, enjoying the delicious food they have earned. While the crickets slowly die outside their burrows, their lives last only 3 months. He also once told us, should you learn to follow the lifestyle of ants or crickets? We answered in unison, ants. The teacher happily nodded and said, yes. We should learn from ants, work diligently to create happiness for ourselves with our own hands.
No matter what, we should not learn the way of life of crickets, who only know how to have fun without worrying about their future lives. But not long after that, there was a student who was seriously ill with cancer that could no longer be cured. At that time, the teacher went to the hospital to visit her and recounted the parable from before. When the story was almost finished, the student immediately said, "Teacher, I also think I will do the same as the ants." Unexpectedly, the teacher said, "No, you should act like the crickets. Although their lives are short, they know how to bring beautiful songs to life, knowing how to contribute and bring joy to humanity."
Although the ants work hard all day, they only care about their food. After listening, the student smiled happily and did many good deeds in the remaining days and reached the end of her life without sadness. The above story is a very good lesson for us. Normally, the teacher says there are two different, completely contrasting answers, but that is a method of education. Because students are always different in many aspects, teachers must know how to educate according to their personality and abilities.
That is the success of education and the way to make life harmonious. At the same time, this story also helps us understand that each life stage and situation is different. So we should improvise to make life better and more perfect every day.
We should not cling to a certain solution, concept or thought that is eternal and true at all times and places. We should know that life has many shapes and forms, so we must also be flexible and change our outlook on life to suit in a good direction.
Story 2. When the wind changes direction. A boat is on its way across the sea for many days. Suddenly one day dark clouds came and the wind suddenly changed direction. The big boat cannot move forward but turns in another direction. Everyone on the boat was confused and didn't know what to do. Finally, an old sailor climbed up the mast. From above, he shouted loudly, "Watch the wind direction and adjust your sails." And the boat slowly turned against the waves and headed in the intended direction.
In life, there will be times when adversity, difficulties or storms suddenly come to us. Sometimes, no matter how hard we try, we still cannot change the situation. There are people who change direction or give up, but there are also people who fight to overcome all adversities intelligently, cleverly and courageously. After the storm, the wind will subside.
Story 3. Don't wait. As a child, I often wished that when I grew up, I would just have a lovely house and a warm family, and that would be enough to be happy. But when I got those things, I was still not really satisfied. I feel the need to worry more because my children are still so young and also because the responsibility of being a wife and mother always weighs heavily on my shoulders. At this time, I console myself that I will be more comfortable when the children grow up and can take care of themselves without needing special care from me. But when life came to a point where it should have been as peaceful as I thought, a series of other problems appeared. My children are entering puberty one after another with physiological and psychological changes, making me always worried and uneasy. Again, I tried to convince myself that things would get better once they got through this, and just like that. Countless times I fantasize about a completely happy, peaceful life when my children get married, when my husband and I get a new car, or when we retire. But the truth is, there is no better time than now for you to feel happiness. Life is never without challenges. To survive, we must try to find ways to overcome them, but don't forget to enjoy joy and happiness in life because of that. Alfred de Souza once recounted, "In the past, I often thought that if I overcame all the immediate difficulties, everything would be better. I would have time for myself and enjoy happiness."
But it seems that those obstacles never end, one after another: unsigned contracts, work that must be completed before the deadline, debts that must be paid, and so on. Life continues.
The life I wait for is still just a promise somewhere in the future. Finally, I also realize that the new obstacle is my life, and whether that life is good and happy or not depends entirely on my own thoughts and way of life. It is true that happiness is not hidden in a strange, mysterious place. Happiness is right on every path we take. So, cherish every moment of life. Don't wait for a milestone that can help you have a new life for yourself. Don't wait until you finish school, or until you buy a new house, or when you get married, or when your children are grown up, because that make absolutely no sense. Don't wait until spring ends, summer comes, fall comes and winter passes, when you retire or reincarnate in another life to learn the lesson.
Don't wait until you finish school, or until you buy a new house, or when you get married, or when your children are grown up, because that make absolutely no sense. Don't wait until spring ends, summer comes, fall comes, and winter passes, when you retire or reincarnate in another life to learn the lesson. There is no better time than now for you to be happy. Story 4. Small Joys. Knowing how to enjoy the small joys in life, that is one of the secrets to happiness. Japanese people often tell the following story. A man was walking through a field and was suddenly chased by a tiger. He ran for his life but still couldn't find a place to stay. He ran and ran until finally he found himself standing on the edge of the abyss. Behind his back, the tiger did not let up. Not knowing what to do anymore, the man had to muster the strength to swing onto a tree branch across the abyss. Looking down into the valley, he saw another tiger lying in wait. The poor man had only one hope left, to lie down and wait until the two tired animals left. Waiting in fear is still the greatest torture for humans. While he was fighting fear and fatigue, by chance two mice suddenly appeared from nowhere on the very branch he was swinging on. The two animals began gnawing on the bark around the branch. Normally, rats are one of the animals that he hates the most because of their filth. Their cry was also a sound that made his ears uncomfortable. However, in this extreme fear, the man suddenly saw two adorable mice.
Their chubby teeth look so cute. The cries of the two animals also became a softer sound than the roar of the two tigers. While he was watching every move of the two mice, a bird suddenly flew from somewhere and dropped a wild strawberry on the tree branch. He reached out to pick up the strawberry and enjoyed the sweet taste of the wild fruit, suddenly becoming strangely poetic and lovely.
The secret to happiness is knowing how to accept the small joys in everyday life. There are days of imprisonment when we see the value of the word freedom. Only when we live far away from family do we miss the days we spent with our loved ones.
There are times when we lie writhing in a hospital bed that we see the value of health. Our lives are filled with small joys that only when we lose them do we feel nostalgic. Story 5: How to be happy. There was a rich man who was extremely rich. Whatever he could buy with money, he bought it to enjoy. However, he himself felt unhappy, not at all happy. One day, he came up with a strange idea: put all his precious objects, gold, silver, and jewels in a large bag and then traveled. He decided that if anyone could tell him how to be happy, he would give all his wealth to that person. He searched and asked everywhere he went, then came to a village where a farmer told him that he should go to see a great master. If the great master had no way, even if he went all over the world, no one could help him either. Finally, finding the great master meditating, he was overjoyed and told the great master, "I have only one purpose, my entire life's assets are in this bag. As long as you tell me how to be happy, this bag will be yours." At that time it was already dark, night was about to fall. The great master immediately grabbed his bag and ran away. The rich man was so scared that he cried and called after him, "I've been deceived, the heart of my whole life."
Then the great master returned the bag to the rich man. As soon as the rich man saw the bag he thought was lost, he immediately hugged it and said, "That's great." The great master calmly stood before him and asked, "How do you feel? Are you happy?" "Happy. I feel so happy."
At this time, the great master smiled and said, "This is not a special method. It's just that people take everything they have for granted, so they don't feel it is happiness. What you lack is a lost opportunity. Do you know how important what you have is? In fact, the bag you are holding in your arms is the same as the bag before. Do you still want to give it to me now?" This interesting story makes me suddenly recognize myself in it. Have you discovered that when you lose or lack something, you will always remember it, but when you have it, you can easily ignore it or even look at it without seeing it? Respect what you have. Don't let it go and regret it.